Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar for MEST RTOManager Visa Check Integration. My name is Binod Silwal. I'll be your integration consultant for this integration and in MEST group as well. So in today's webinar, I'll talk about the Visa Check integration feature that we have recently implemented for all your RTOManager platforms, its capabilities, how to use it, and more to go. So if you have any questions in the meantime while I'm doing the presentation, please feel free to uh, write your message or questions in the chat box. We'll compile at the end of the meeting and get back to you separately. If we get enough time, then I'll also try to answer them today itself. But if not, then I'll definitely get back to you with an answer. We will also share this recording and the slides that I'll present after we finish the meeting. So yeah, if you have anything, just reach out to us. And once again, thank you for your time today. So let's get started. So in today's webinar, I will be discussing about the overview of the integration, what the feature does, um, how to do the configuration and setup. It's pretty simple. The access and permission introduced for this feature, the tier information, the price and the package, and the number of visa checks limit and so on. I'll also talk about the few visa check filters that we have for the visa check page, some of the relevant icons for this integration. I'll go in a bit detail for the visa check process, and I'll also show you around for the log and report we have for this feature. So if you have any questions, again, just feel free to drop a message. Make sure you write your name and your college name as well, so that we know how and who do we reach out back. Okay, so let's talk about the overview. So this integration is powered by vSure. So by that I mean we have partnered with vSure. It's a third-party API provider. So MEST and vSure has a partnership for offering this integration in the market. So this integration comes with very easy setup. So there's no complicated setup and configuration required. All we need is your email account details. This integration works based on the fast API verification method. So that means the visa check responses are quick, instant. If not instant, then it will be within a matter of seconds. Having said that, this also depends on the queue in the department's API. So we call the API for the department, and then they will queue our request and gives us back the response. So it also depends on the queue. So ideally, the response is received in matter of seconds. If not, then you will have further options to get the API response whenever you want. I'll talk about that as well. The feature is already available in your platform. So if you currently also, if you go to admin configuration setup, you will see a visa check configuration section where you can do the configuration. And if you go to offers and offers tab, there will be a page called visa check. So if you go there, you're already you're good to do the visa check. So there's no activation required. It's already available, so you can start at any point of time if you have the valid email account for your organization. This integration comes in various tiers. So I'll talk about the available tier or package for this integration in the later slides. This integration allows you to do the visa check for individual records, or you can also do the bulk visa checks. So bulk visa check will allow you to do up to 20 records at a time, provided that you have the tier available for 20 visa checks. The visa check can be done for both offers and students. Most likely, the offers are the records where you would need to do the visa checks, but also for the students who want to extend the course or who wants to add a new course to them, you might need to do a visa check for them to see if they are eligible to be offered a new course or not. So this is just to get on top of the compliance that you will only offer courses to the students, also students who have the valid visa. So first thing is configuration. So as I mentioned, all you need is the email account username and password. So ideally you will have your provider's email account, which you will use to log in to the email account. The same username and password you can configure in RTOManager system. You will see under admin configuration setup, the page called visa configuration. So this page will be only available for your as admin users. Obviously, this is because email account is a sensitive information, and only the authorized person should be allowed to do the configuration. As admin users can add, update, or remove the email account at any point of time, and there's no restriction. So for doing a successful visa check, this configuration must be done, and this must be correct as well. So you will also need to agree to the terms and conditions by Vivo. So these terms and conditions are hosted by the department itself, which basically asks for your consent to allow a third-party application to use your email account details to access the visa check or do the visa check as well. So user must accept the terms and conditions, as I just said. And one thing to note is that your organization email account must have this visa entitlement verification online Weibo service enabled. So you can see it under your My Services under the email account. If you don't have this service, you can go to request additional service section and ask or request for this visa check service. So if you don't have this one, then the API won't work because obviously your email account is not eligible to do the visa checks. So you can submit a request to the department. Ideally, they will provide you the approval within a couple of business days. So this is entirely outside of our system. So you should be managing these things from your email account as well. In terms of access and permission in MEST platform, so as I mentioned before, as admin users can do the configuration and they can use the visa check feature without any restriction. However, if you want to assign a particular user role or even a particular user for that function, which is the visa check, you will have a permission called visa check, and it can be assigned to the users and roles. Only the person who has this permission enabled will be able to do the visa checks. Other people or other staffs can also see these options. I mean the visa check page under the offers, but they won't be allowed to do the visa checks. If they attempt to do the visa check, system will prompt an error saying you don't have a permission enabled. So yeah, we can control the access and people who can do the visa check on for your organization's behalf. So let's talk about the tier information now. So for all your platforms, currently you are under a free tier, so it's already enabled. If you see offers visa check page under the tier information, you will see this icon here. So under here, you can see you can do 10 visa checks per month, which is already there. You can start using from now onwards as well. If you have not seen this already, you can simply go and check in your platform. So by default, you will be allowed to do 10 free visa checks per month. But if you want to increase these counts, if you want to do up to 50 visa checks, we have the standard tier. And if you want to do up to 150 visa checks, we have the premium tier. If you have any other requirements like more than 150 and so on, we can come up with a custom tier package as well. So each tier will be valid for the particular month, and on the start of the next month, the tier will reset, and then you will also be able to do like from the beginning, the visa check counter will reset to 0, and then you can do further visa checks up to the limit that is provided to you. So we are working on pay as you go as well, but I'll talk about that in my last slide for this presentation. So yeah, stick to that. So now let's go to the visa check filters, the page itself. So it can be found under the offers tab. There's a page called visa check. You will see the filters like campus. There are a few statuses like checked, not checked, completed, failure, request sent, and so on. So you can do the checks based on that. Ideally, by default, this filter is reset to not checked. And then you can search other parameters like offer ID or course start date, agents, and so on. So you can do these filters and browse your records. You can also filter by the stage. Stages are offer and student. You can select the records from here as well. By default, resident students are excluded from the search list, obviously because they don't need the visa check. But if there are any onshore and offshore students or applicants, they will be listed under this page based on the filters that you use. So yeah, you can use the filters, you can get the required list and do the visa checks. Some of the icons relevant to this integrations, I'm going to just go on a very high level for this one. You'll see this bulb icon, which will be on, to show or hide the tier information. This icon here. There will be a check visa icon as well. So this is the icon which you will actually trigger to do the visa check request. So after clicking this one, you will send the API request for the visa check. You will see a calendar icon as well. So what this does is it will give you the history of the visa checks done for that particular record. So let's say if you have done visa check 3 times for a particular record, then it will give you the details of all those 3 attempts. There will be a icon called refresh status. So this only appears when the visa check category is request sent. So you can click this icon to fetch the API response. This comes handy when you don't get back the API response instantly, and then you want to go and click this one, then it will bring back all the pending records that is not coming from the API. There will be an icon on the gray tick under the offers profile page or the student's profile page. What it means is the visa check has not been done before for that particular record, or even if it was done, then the successful visa check has not been received back. So once the successful visa check is response is received back, the icon will turn into green. And you can also click the back button from the visa check page to go back to the relevant offers or students if you are going to that visa check from page from those sections as well. So now let's talk about the visa check process. So under this main page called visa check, you can list out the records. You can select one or multiple records. So obviously, if you are on the free tier, you will be allowed to do up to 10 visa checks per month. So if you select, let's say, 11 records, then system will prompt a message saying that you're not allowed to do 11 checks because of the free tier there. So in that case, if you want to increase more, you can reach out to us for more subscription. Uh, so ideally, you will be able to select the records, click on confirm, and do the visa check by clicking this check visa icon. So the confirmation message is important because it will give you one additional layer to confirm if actually you want to do the visa check for the selected records or not, provided that some records are already um, done for visa checks. I mean, the visa checks has already been done for those records, then you might not want to do it again and again. So just to, because each successful visa check is counted towards the limit and also will be billed. So that's why this is to make you aware that the selected records potentially will be used for billing. So you just need to make sure you select the required records only. For example, currently it's not checked. So ideally you will go for visa checking for these records. But if it's, let's say, completed or success already, then you might not need to do the visa check again. So it's just to provide you the additional layer of confirmation. Depending upon the API response, so system will give you the message after the request is sent, you can see under completed or request sent status to view the response. So completed will have the API response, actual API response from Vivo as well. There will be one more status called failure in case of any errors, and the request sent, which is like we sent the request, but we never received the response back. So in that case, you can simply go to request sent and then do the refresh status. As I mentioned before, any visa check limit after, like beyond your tier or the limit, system will restrict you from doing the further visa checks. So completed or failure status means a valid response received from API, so which I mentioned before as well. So if the status is complete, it could be, let's say, the success. That means visa check has been done successfully and we received the valid visa response. Or let's say it could mean something else, like the person doesn't exist in Vivo with the provided details. So the system, the API gives back the relevant response, and then you can also see what the response actually means. For this case, it means Vivo cannot identify the person. The provided details, for example, date of birth, passport number, or country of birth doesn't match with the Vivo, so that you have to update the system records as well. The category called request send means API response is not received. I mentioned it already. So you can use this filter called request send, and under this filter you will see an icon called refresh status. So once you click this refresh status icon, then you will be the system will fetch all the API response from the API itself and then moves it to the completed status or the failure status depending upon the response. So further elaboration of what the statuses mean and if they are like counted towards the billable visa check records or not. So let's go in a bit detail. So completed could either mean Vivo account no access. So this means that you have a valid IMEI account, but the service for Vivo check is not enabled yet. So as I mentioned before, you have to request to the department under the request additional services. And then once you have the Vivo service enabled for your IMEI account, this error should go away. The other one would mean that person not found. So the provided details are provided details for this visa check is the passport, the date of birth of the student or the applicant, and their country of birth. So if either of these doesn't match with Vivo records, then it will throw an error like Vivo person not found. And the other one is success. So in this case, the provided details was right. Your IMEI account doesn't have any issue. You have the required service enabled, and the student or applicant visa exists based on the parameters provided, and the API provides back the valid visa response. Let's say, for an example, student visa 500, student can study indefinitely. Those kind of information will be returned back. In terms of failure, it could mean like your login details is incorrect. For example, your provided username or provided password is incorrect, or even it could mean that the password is expired already. So you have to make sure that the user credentials are correct and up to date. So if that's that, then there won't be any issues like this one. But if you see this error, you know that the credentials or email account details has some issue. So you have to fix that. And in terms of request send, there won't be any response code because technically no response has been received from API yet. So you should simply go to this status and hit request refresh status, which is this one, as I mentioned before. Then once that's done, then the API will fetch the actual response, and then the actual response could be either of the above these four statuses. So among all these three, the success one is counted towards the billing. So your visa check count, which is mentioned under this visa checks limit here. So this is only counted when we receive the successful message, which is this one, or the status is request sent. So the request sent is just to do a placeholder for that visa check. So let's say if you send 3 records and then 3 are under request send, that means we have not received the response. So those 3 count will be counted towards the visa check. But then after you do the refresh status, if it's success, then 3 is counted. If it's not success, then the 3 is reset back. So only the successful, ideally at the end of the day, only the success status is used to do the billing, or it's only counted towards the billable visa checks. You can see the visa check history with this icon here, which will be there for each and every record if the visa check has been done, regardless of the response if it's successful or not. So the visa check will have the information like response code, if it's success or not. It could be Vivo login error, it could be Vivo person not found, and so on. What the detail actually means. So if it's success, then it means that visa check has been successful. What the visa type is returned for that record, it will give the visa subclass. For the students, it might give you 500. For the tourist visa, it might give you 600, and so on. So visa name, what is the actual visa name based on the department's classification. The visa details, what visa allows you to do. So currently for this 408, it gives the entitlement for work and so on. So ideally for your cases, it will have student visa 500, unlimited study, and study entitlements, and so on. It will also have the visa grant date and the visa expiry date as well. You can see all this information on the visa check history. So if you have done a visa check for any record, let's say there was an error or person was not found, you do the you correct the data in the system, and then you again do the visa check. then in that case, there are multiple attempts done for that particular record. In that case, system records each and every activity with the valid response and valid date timestamp along with the user details, so that you can see it under the visa check history how many times the visa check has been done, who did that, and what the response was received. So this is kind of a audit trail for that particular record in case you need it for your audit purpose as well. You can see the visa check information under the student's or offer profile as well. So there will be an icon under the alongside the visa type section in the system. So this ideally means that the visa check hasn't been done before, or even if it has been done, then the success message was never received. Like that means valid visa check was not been done. So in that case, you can simply click this icon, and it will take you to the visa check page again by pre-populating all the records for that particular record, and then you can do the visa check from here. You can also click this back button to go back to the same offer page again, where you came from to this visa check page. So once the visa check is done here, let's say the response is success, and in that case it will turn green. It will give you the details when it was last checked, and to see the details, simply click this one and it will take you to the same visa check page and give you the response details. You can click this icon again to the visa check history. Again, the green icon will only be there if the visa check has been successful. So if there was any error, if the person was not found or the image details were incorrect, then it will still remain gray, but as this one. But if it's a success, then the icon will turn green. So in that case, it's kind of a badge under the student profile saying that the valid visa is there for that student. Similarly, this was for the offer profile, sorry, and this is now for the student. Similar story. Student will also have this gray icon here. Simply you can click it here. No visa check has been done before. You can click there. You can go to the visa check page, and then if the success message is returned, then it will turn green again. You can see the relevant visa check response as well. So same information is also maintained under the offer communication log, or if it's for students, it's under the student diary log. So it will record the attempts done for the visa check and what the response from API was. It will record who did the check at what time and what response was received. This is just to make sure that we record information wherever possible, so that it's easier to track later, and then you can see the information from multiple pages in the system. For this integration, there is a log which is very important in terms of like tracking who did the configuration change. As IMEI account is a sensitive information, we need to make sure we track who inserted the record, who updated or who deleted. Obviously, in the log, the username and password used for that configuration is encrypted. So it is like just to make sure that it's secure, and then no one else can access the username password just based on the logs. You can browse based on the 2 dates, see who has done the configuration at what time, and so on. So the log is maintained there. In terms of report, under the student services, there will be a report called visa check request between 2 dates. So you can run this report between 2 dates and see all the visa check activities done between those dates. So that can either include the success, failure, completed, not completed, request sent, and all the statuses between those 2 days. So this is kind of a history between 2 days for all the visa check activities done so far. You can either check it from the individual record section, which was this, as I mentioned, or you can do check for all the records at once from this particular report. So information are maintained in the report as well. So this comes handy when you want to cross verify what information was checked, who did, and between 2 days, how many records were checked, and so on. So last piece of information for today's webinar is about few of the features that we are extending. So initially I mentioned for the tier setup that you will be allowed to do up to 50 or 150 or 10 for free in case of free visa checks. But we are also introducing a pay-as-you-go method. So essentially, when you reach the limit of your current tier, so let's say if you are on a standard tier, you reach 50 limits and you want to do furthermore, then we can allow you to do, let's say, 55 or 60 visa checks for that particular month. So obviously the additional visa checks will be charged based on the contract that we do with the clients. But this pay as you go will also be introduced in the coming release. There will be one more report for the finance. This is purely to see how many successful visa checks has been done. So ideally the report will be same as this report, but because this report has all the information including completed failure or any other errors as well, the new report will only have the success records, so that if you run this report, if it says 55, then you know that only you charge for that 55 visa checks. So one last information that I want to mention here is, let's say for this visa check tier, so you're under standard tier, so you are technically allowed to do 50 visa checks, but if you only do 45, then 5 visa checks are not carried over for the next month. So it ends at the end of the month. Next month, it will reset with 50 check again. So if you don't use all the visa checks, then it doesn't get carried over for the next month. So this is how the tier is maintained in the system, and this is how the integration will work. This very straightforward integration, nothing complicated. So it's readily available for you. You can start using from now itself. You can do trial with the free tier. If you want to subscribe to more, then you can let us know. Or if you have any other questions apart from this one, please feel free to reach out to support@meshgroup.com.au, or you can also give us a call back. We can book another detailed demo, or we can take you to the further steps. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop in the chat box as well, and we'll reach out to you. For now, that's all from my side, and thank you for your time today for the webinar. You have a good day ahead. Thank you.